Have you ever been left in silence by someone you didn't realize mattered that much until they were gone? It's strange how the quiet doesn't hit all at once. It builds. One unread message, one unreturned call, one less piece of them showing up in your world, and at first you might wonder what happened to them, why they pulled away, what they're thinking, if they've moved on. But eventually a deeper, harder question hits you in the chest. What does this say about me? That question doesn't ask for blame. It demands truth. It pulls back the curtain on the version of you that showed up, or didn't. It's not about regret for losing someone. It's about reckoning with what your actions, your hesitations, your silences have revealed. Because when someone walks away without slamming the door, it often means they were serious, and you just didn't see it in time. Silence isn't just the absence of words. It's a message in itself. When you stop reaching out, stop explaining, stop trying, he starts feeling the shift. And in that space, his mind goes places you'd never expect. Until now. When a woman goes silent, especially after being consistent, warm, and emotionally available, the shift doesn't go unnoticed. He may not react outwardly at first. He may even pretend not to care. But something starts happening under the surface. One of the first and most uncomfortable thoughts that creeps into his mind is, "Did I mess up?" It doesn't always arrive as a full sentence. Sometimes it's just a feeling, a twitch in his chest, a pang of discomfort when he opens his phone and sees no new messages from you. He might try to shrug it off. After all, he's been busy, distracted, maybe even slightly distant himself. But your silence hits different. It has a weight to it. Men often aren't taught to be fluent in emotional nuance, so instead of sitting with the feeling, he might try to analyze it logically. He replays the last few conversations. Did he say something off? Was he too cold? Did he miss a moment where you needed him to show up and he just didn't? In the past, maybe you would have told him, called it out directly, but now there's nothing. And that absence makes everything louder in his own head. The truth is, when a woman goes quiet, it creates a kind of mirror for a man. Suddenly, he has no feedback loop, no validation, no warmth to hide behind. He's left alone with himself, and in that silence, his actions, or lack of action, start to echo back at him. The moments where he could have been more attentive, the texts he ignored, the times he brushed off your concerns, they all start to replay like scenes from a movie he didn't realize he was starring in. He may tell himself it's just a phase, that you're probably just busy, but the unease lingers. That subtle shift from everything is fine to something feels off becomes impossible to ignore. The reason this hits so hard is because men are often much slower to realize emotional consequences. When you were talking, even if there were issues, he felt a sense of control. But your silence removes that. It's no longer a dialogue, it's distance, and it terrifies him. What makes this question, "Did I mess up?" so confronting is that it forces him to look inward. Not just at how he treated you, but at what kind of partner he's actually capable of being. It exposes the cracks he didn't want to acknowledge, the lazy comfort he settled into, the way he assumed your love was unconditional without ever asking what it needed to survive. This isn't about blame, it's about realization. Your silence becomes a mirror, and not everyone is ready to look into it. Some men will avoid the discomfort, blame you for being dramatic or emotionally manipulative. But the ones who are honest with themselves will start to feel something deeper, regret, the kind that builds slowly, day by day, as the silence stretches longer. He starts to remember the way you used to light up when he texted something thoughtful. The way you would try to understand him even when he couldn't express himself clearly. The emotional labor you did without ever demanding a thank you. It all rushes back with a force he wasn't prepared for. Even if he doesn't admit it out loud, the question, "Did I mess up?" will keep knocking at his mind, in quiet moments, in the shower, late at night, especially when he sees your name on his phone and realizes it's still silent. Because the truth is, silence isn't nothing. It's the loudest answer he's ever gotten. It starts subtly, a slower reply, a missed call, a shift in tone. She doesn't slam the door or announce her exit. She just begins to withdraw, one layer at a time. And that's when the question starts circling in his mind like a low hum he can't shut off. Why did she pull away? At first, he tells himself not to overthink it. She's probably just busy. Maybe work's been stressful. Maybe she needs space. It's easier to rationalize than to confront the possibility that her distance might be about him, but something doesn't feel right. Her energy has changed. She used to lean in. Now she leans back, and it's not just in words, it's in her absence. He starts replaying the last few weeks like a movie reel. Was it something he said, something he didn't say, a moment where he missed her reaching out emotionally, and he didn't catch it until it was already too late? Her withdrawal wasn't sudden, it was gradual, almost surgical, the kind of pullback that doesn't scream, but whispers in ways that are harder to ignore. Men aren't always wired to notice emotional disconnection right away. Sometimes it takes the loss of attention, the cooling of affection, for them to realize just how deeply they'd come to rely on it. And so, the question, why did she pull away, becomes more than curiosity. It becomes a search for accountability. But only if he's willing to be honest. She didn't pull away because of one bad day, one missed text, one disagreement. It's rarely ever that simple. Most women pull away after a series of unmet needs, after realizing they're investing in a connection that no longer feels safe, consistent, or valued. Maybe she felt like she had to beg for the bare minimum. Maybe she felt like she was the only one showing up. Maybe she grew tired of explaining her worth to someone who only saw it when he feared losing it. He might start to remember those moments now, the times she tried to talk about how she felt, and he shrugged it off or got defensive. The days she showed up with warmth and vulnerability, hoping for reciprocity, and got silence or sarcasm instead. The moments she needed reassurance and instead was met with indifference or distraction. All of those add up, not just for her, but for the stability of the relationship. And then there's the part he doesn't want to admit. Maybe he thought she'd always be there. That no matter how emotionally unavailable he became, no matter how much effort he stopped putting in, she'd keep chasing, keep caring, keep trying. But she didn't, because somewhere along the way, she realized that trying harder wasn't going to make him try at all. He notices now how the conversations have shortened, how the effort to ask how he's doing is no longer there, how her voice, once soft and inviting, now holds distance, not anger, but resignation. He may still think there's time to fix it, but her pulling away signals that something in her has already started to detach, emotionally, mentally, maybe even physically. He starts to ask himself if he ever really gave her what she needed, or if he just assumed she was okay with breadcrumbs. If he really saw her for who she was, or just liked the version of her that made him feel good. The more he thinks about it, the more he realizes her withdrawal didn't come out of nowhere. It was a response, not a rebellion. A quiet defense mechanism to protect her heart after too many quiet disappointments. And so the question loops again, heavier this time, less about blame and more about truth. Why did she pull away at first? It's just a passing thought. A flicker of doubt in the back of his mind. Maybe he sees her post a picture looking carefree, or maybe a mutual friend mentions her name and she doesn't come up the way she used to, with longing, frustration, or unfinished business. It hits him unexpectedly, quietly, but with force. Has she moved on? It's a question he wasn't prepared to ask, because for a while he assumed she hadn't. Maybe he even counted on it. He thought she'd linger emotionally, stuck in the same cycle of waiting, hoping, missing. Maybe he even thought she'd always be one message away, just far enough to miss, but close enough to return if he changed his mind. But now something feels different, not from her words, but from her silence. Not from confrontation, but from absence. He starts to scan for signs. Was that smile in her new photo just for the camera, or is someone else taking the picture now? Did that caption mean something? Was she talking about someone else when she said she finally feels free? The mind begins to race in places it hadn't bothered to go before, because when a woman really moves on, it doesn't always come with an announcement. It comes with a shift in energy, a letting go, a peace that doesn't include him anymore. There's something uniquely unsettling about wondering if you've been emotionally replaced, not just by another man, but by her own healing. Maybe she's finally sleeping better, laughing more, filling the space he used to occupy with things that nourish her instead of drain her. And while part of him might want to be happy for her, another part realizes what he's lost. Not just her presence, but her belief in what the two of them could have been. He starts remembering the small details she once shared, the ones he brushed off or half listened to, the songs she sent, the way she always noticed when his energy shifted, even when he tried to hide it, the consistency of her care, her patience when he shut down, the way she made effort look effortless. At the time, maybe he didn't realize the weight of that kind of love, or maybe he thought it would wait for him to catch up. Now, the silence speaks louder than any words ever could. She isn't checking in anymore. She's not liking his posts, not watching his stories, not orbiting his life the way she used to. He can feel the gap where she used to be, and it's not empty, it's filled with her own growth, her own life. He wonders who she talks to late at night now, who gets the softest parts of her, who's hearing the thoughts she used to share with him like secrets. The worst part isn't the jealousy, it's the realization that she might not be looking back anymore. That she's not stuck where he left her emotionally, that whatever lingering hope or attachment she once carried has unraveled quietly without drama or closure, that while he was busy weighing his options, trying to figure out how much effort she was worth, she was slowly choosing herself. He replays the moments when she tried to talk, about how distant he was, how unseen she felt, how tired she was of loving someone who made her feel alone. He didn't take those moments seriously at the time. Maybe he chalked them up to overthinking or mood swings. Now he realizes they were signs, warnings, not of her leaving, but of her preparing to detach, to rebuild. And so he finds himself in the one place he thought he'd never be, wondering if she's finally over him. If someone else has taken his place, or if she's simply decided she doesn't need anyone to fill it. If the version of her he knew has evolved into someone who no longer even thinks of him at all. If the love she once offered so freely has found a new direction, one that doesn't point toward him. It doesn't hit him in the beginning. At first, everything feels light, easy, undefined. The texts, the late night calls, the way she laughed at his jokes and asked about his day, it all felt good, but casual. No pressure, no labels. He told himself they were just seeing where things go, and she never forced it. She gave space, she let things flow. But now, in her absence, he starts to look back at the pieces more closely. And a quiet question surfaces. Was she more serious than I thought? He didn't see it at the time. Maybe he didn't want to. She never demanded anything. No ultimatums, no dramatic confrontations. But now he realizes that her seriousness wasn't loud. It was in the way she showed up consistently, in the way she remembered the smallest things about him, in how she cared not just when it was convenient, but when it was uncomfortable. She was serious not in her words, but in her effort. He starts to recall moments that didn't register as significant then, but now feel like missed signs. The way she would try to understand his silence instead of judging it. The way she offered support without needing to be asked. The way she talked about the future, not always directly, but in ways that made it clear she was imagining him in it. She wasn't playing games. She was just quietly invested, hoping he would meet her halfway without needing to be pushed. Looking back, he realizes he was always measuring the situation by how much pressure she didn't put on him, instead of noticing how much of her heart she was already giving. He thought her calm meant she didn't care that much. He mistook her emotional maturity for detachment. Her trust in the connection made him think she wasn't going anywhere, so he stayed comfortable, non-committal, and blind to what was really happening between them. Now he's left trying to piece together the timeline of her intentions. Was she in deeper than he realized? Did she actually believe they were building something real? Did she love him already, while he was still weighing whether or not he was ready? The worst part isn't the answer, it's the fact that he didn't ask those questions until it was too late. She was never reckless with her feelings. She didn't rush in, but she was intentional, and that's what he missed. He thought seriousness had to look like pressure, difficult conversations, demands, expectations, but hers looked like presence, like softness, like emotional availability. He didn't recognize it for what it was until the text stopped, the conversations faded, and the version of her that once leaned in started pulling away. Now he wonders what she was thinking during those nights they spent talking for hours. What she felt when she shared something vulnerable and he changed the subject. What she hoped for when she invited him into her world, not with grand gestures, but with consistent care. He thought they were just talking. She thought they were connecting. And maybe they were, but only one of them was building something with intention. This is what stings the most, realizing that someone was loving him seriously while he was still treating it like a temporary moment. That she was investing while he was calculating, that she was already choosing him in ways he hadn't even begun to consider, not because she was naive or desperate, but because she believed in what they could be if he'd only opened his eyes sooner. He thought he had more time, that they were still in the early stages, that nothing real had formed yet, but now, in hindsight, it's clear she had already made a choice to care deeply, to try, to be real with him, while he was still convincing himself it was just another phase. And now, the weight of that realization lingers in every moment of silence that follows her absence, carrying the quiet echo of a question he never thought he'd be asking so late. Was she more serious than I thought? It's been a while since they last spoke. The silence has stretched longer than he expected. At first, it felt like a standoff, two people waiting to see who'd blink first, but now there's no game in it. Just quiet, and somewhere in that stillness, a question starts to take root in his mind. Should I reach out? He scrolls through old messages, the conversations that used to be effortless, the inside jokes, the way she used to respond within minutes, sometimes seconds, as if she'd been waiting to hear from him. That energy is gone now, not bitter, not angry, just gone, and it makes the space between them feel more permanent than he ever anticipated. He plays it cool in front of everyone else, pretends he's fine, that he's just giving her space, or that it's over and he's moved on. But internally, he's restless. He checks her social media, hoping for a sign that she still thinks about him. That maybe she's missing him too, but there's nothing obvious to grab onto. Just the uncomfortable reality that she hasn't reached out either. The question, should I reach out, isn't just about sending a message. It's about everything that comes with it: vulnerability, pride, risk, rejection. What if she doesn't respond? What if she's cold? What if she's already decided he doesn't deserve another opening? The idea of putting himself out there when he's unsure of the outcome shakes something in him. But the silence isn't getting any easier to sit with either. He starts to justify the distance. tells himself maybe she didn't really care that much to begin with, that if she did, she'd be the one to say something. But deep down, he knows she did care, maybe even more than she ever admitted. She just got tired of carrying the weight of the connection alone, tired of always initiating, tired of hoping for something that never fully arrived. That's what makes the silence so loud. It's not just the absence of words, it's the presence of everything he didn't say when he had the chance, the apologies he held back, the clarity he never gave, the effort he kept waiting to make at the right time. And now he wonders if that time passed quietly while he was busy trying to protect his ego. He picks up the phone, fingers hovering over the keyboard, he types something, deletes it, rewrites it, deletes it again. He's not even sure what he would say. Hey feels too small. I miss you feels too big. He thinks about how she might react, if she'd feel relief or if she'd roll her eyes. He wonders if reaching out now would make him look weak or selfish or late. But beneath all the hesitation, there's a truth he can't avoid. He wants to reach out, not just to get a response, not just to relieve the discomfort, but because there's a part of him that's not finished. A part that still feels connected, even if he never fully showed it before. And that part of him is louder now, pushing past the fear, asking what matters more. His pride or the possibility of something real. Still, the doubt lingers. What if she's over it? What if reaching out reopens wounds she's finally started to heal? What if she's better without him, and the most respectful thing to do is to stay silent? Or worse, what if she's already found someone who treats her the way she always wanted to be treated? He paces with the thought, goes back and forth between action and avoidance. He tells himself to give it one more day, then another, hoping that maybe she'll reach out first, that maybe this whole thing isn't as final as it feels. But the silence keeps holding, stretching, deepening, as he sits with the only question that still hasn't answered itself. Should I reach out? The silence isn't just hers anymore, it's his too. And in that silence, with no distractions left to lean on, he finds himself staring at the aftermath. The connection they once had isn't just distant. It feels like a closed chapter. No dramatic goodbye, no clear final word, just a space where something meaningful used to live. And when he stops asking why she left or whether she's moved on, a heavier, more personal question begins to surface. What does this say about me? It's not about blame at this point, it's about reflection. He starts to think back, not just on what happened between them, but how he showed up in the relationship, what he gave, what he withheld, what he chose to ignore. There's a discomfort that settles in his chest when he realizes how many moments he let slip by, how often he chose to stay guarded when she was asking him to be real. She was there, emotionally available, consistent, open. He was less so, not absent, but not fully present either. He'd show up when it felt convenient, when he missed her, when he felt the tension of her pulling away. But consistency, vulnerability, being emotionally honest without her having to beg for it. That's where things got fuzzy. He thought he was doing enough, but now, with the benefit of hindsight, he wonders if that belief was just a way of protecting himself from accountability. He remembers times she'd open up, sharing something real, something she was scared of or something from her past, and instead of leaning in, he kept it surface level, told himself it was too soon, too heavy, too much. Maybe he wasn't cruel or intentionally distant, but he was disconnected in ways that mattered. He's realizing now that her silence wasn't a punishment, it was a response to his inconsistency, to his emotional half-steps. To his fear of being all in, the question, what does this say about me, isn't rhetorical. It cuts deep because it forces him to confront what he brought into the relationship, and more importantly, what he didn't. It's not just about her leaving, it's about what her leaving reveals, about his patterns, about his capacity for intimacy, about his ability or inability to truly see someone when they're right in front of him, offering something real. He starts to see how he avoided the uncomfortable conversations, how he deflected when she asked what they were, how he stayed vague because clarity meant commitment and commitment meant vulnerability. He wasn't ready to be seen for who he really was, so he stayed safe behind mixed signals and casual words. Now, all that safety feels hollow. He asks himself whether this is something he's done before, whether there's a pattern of pulling away when someone gets too close, whether he's more afraid of being loved than being alone. Because if she left not because she stopped caring, but because she grew tired of not being met, then what does that say about how he's been showing up in his relationships? It's easier to point fingers at timing, at incompatibility, at miscommunication. But what if none of that was the real issue? What if the truth is he wasn't emotionally ready for someone like her, and instead of admitting that, he coasted, hoping she'd keep doing the work he wasn't willing to do? The question stays with him, especially in quiet moments, when he sees someone else loving freely and wonders why it's always been so hard for him, when he scrolls through old photos or rereads her last message, when he hears her voice in his memory, patient, hopeful, slowly fading. He realizes this isn't just about one woman or one moment, it's about a pattern, a mirror, a version of himself he now has to face without distraction, excuse, or delay. And it leaves him staring at the uncomfortable, unanswered question, what does this say about me? In the end, the silence she left behind wasn't just an absence. It was a reflection. It forced him to confront not who she was, but who he had been. Her pulling away didn't break him, it revealed him, and with that truth comes a choice: stay blind to the patterns that push love away, or face them and grow. Because sometimes the most painful question, what does this say about me, is the very one that holds the power to change everything, if he's willing to listen to what the silence has been trying to say all along.